Good morning and welcome to our video. Today we are in Goshen, Ohio at the Cook Cabin Heritage Center, and Roy is teaching a blacksmithing class on 10 hand-forged Christmas gifts. So we're gonna get right in the shop and get started. Come join us.
So the very first thing that we're working on is going to be these icicles. And they're made out of 1/4-inch square stock. They're made from 1/4-inch square stock, so you need a pair of tongs that will grip 1/4-inch square material. So if you're looking for your tools ahead of time, that's what we're going to need. Alright, so we're going to get this fairly hot. We want this to be, the whole piece is about 6 inches long. We want to heat at least half of it. We want to get about, well, we want to make a taper for at least half of that. So about 3 inches of material. We're going to come over to the anvil. That up again. So 1/4-inch stock loses its heat pretty darn quick. Whenever you're tapering this material, don't be tapering in the center of the anvil because you'll leave a bunch of little dinks in the center of the anvil. Oh, Jamie yelled at me once and about tossed me out of the shop because I was hitting his anvil right in the center. So make sure you go out to the edge. Sound good? So now we're going to heat up just a little bit more. What we don't want is we don't want like a visual difference where it's like thick, you know, where it goes real thin and goes up thick. We want this to be a nice gradual taper. So you don't want any speed bumps. So I'm just going to thin this out just a little bit more and that's it. So we're going to call that it for that after we get that heated. So any questions on that part? And come out. Going to start behind my little taper there and help transition that down more. As you see, I don't have to work this really hard. This is small stock, so we're just kind of lifting and dropping the hammer. I'm cleaning it up a little bit as I go. There you go. That's all you have to do. So we're just putting a small taper on the end of the bar. There. Okay? As you can see, there's no visual, like, thick. It's just kind of nice and thin like. We'll flip it around. And before we twist it up, we're going to make our place that a ribbon's going to go through on the other end. There's 2 ways that you can do this. You can flatten it and punch it, because you'll have to flatten it out in order to punch it because there's not enough material here for you to punch through this 1/4 inch. Or you can drill it. You can drill it with a really small drill bit and add a thing like on your keychains, a little loop. What do they call those, Jess?
Jump ring?
Yeah, jump ring. You can add like a little jump ring and then a piece of ribbon. So whichever one you want to do. I'm going to do one that doesn't require any of that. And we're just going to take and make a little loop on the end here. There's a couple ways you're going to do. You can do that. You can draw out a taper and then roll it around, or you can do the part that I'm going to do, which is I'm going to flatten it out and kind of like a little fishtail around with it. So I'll show you that one. So I'm going to spice mine up a little bit. You guys can go in the flat orientation, but I'm going to turn mine up on the diagonal. Just whichever one you guys want to do. I'm going to turn it up on the diagonal using half on, half off blows. I'm going to draw that material out. it kind of ends on a tangent. I kind of like that look myself. But you can certainly do it however you want. If you do it in the flat, which is the easiest way to do it, you can do that way. That's simple. You guys got two. So if you want to attempt the simpler one first, do that, and then go to the diagonal. You know, you can put it up on the diagonal and try that one out. We were just using half on, half off blows right here. That means the hammer's coming half on, half off the face of the anvil, and then we were just drawing out that little in there to make a tab that we created. And we're going to straighten it up a bit, and then I'm going to roll it back. So all we're doing is we're just creating a little bit of a loop on the end here. This will take a couple heats to do this. It doesn't take that many heats when I'm not talking, but when you're demonstrating, you take a break to look at it, you know, versus just doing it. Hopefully you guys can see how that's starting to turn. Okay. So all we're doing is making a little eyelet on the end. And we don't have to punch, we don't have to take time to drill. You can explore those other methods at your home forge if you want, and just try punching them once and try drilling them once, see which one you like better. And so I'm going to roll this up into a little thing, but that's a nice way of doing it so you don't have to do those things. It's a little time saving. So now comes the tricky part, the twist. Twisting a taper is always a tricky part. I'm going to slip it in there, because again I already pre-prepped my vise, which is good. And now I'm going to try to grip it in here somewhere. We're just going to use the tongs with a tight grip to twist. And you can twist this as loose or as tight as you like. I generally try to go a little bit tighter than like what you might see somebody doing a factory twist. I call them like a factory twist, where they're really light when they're made by a machine. They're kind of like a big, long, spirally twist, but you could certainly do that. I try to go a little tighter than that. Just get that to start twisting, take it out of the vise a little bit, twist that a little bit more, and like that. There you have it. The candy cane swirl. I've seen a lot of different things. People will paint a stripe, you know, like, you know, they'll paint one of those twists, you know, red, you know, and the other one white. Some people will paint them up to look like candy canes. Some people will just, you know, do it naturally. Some will do a brass stripe, you know, they'll brush it up one of the twists, you know, every other twist, they brass brush. This is a little bit different, so we're going to play around with this one today. We're going to actually fuller a groove down using a cold chisel. We're going to fuller a groove all the way down the bar. And the trick here is you want to take and do this before you do anything else. So we're actually going to twist round stock. But because we fuller the groove all the way down the piece, you won't be able to see the twist in the round stock, but you'll see the groove twist around. And that'll give us our candy cane stripe that you will, our classic candy cane stripe. So I'll show you how that looks now. So what we'll do is go between our legs, and we're going to brace against the step. We'll find the center, and then I'm going to try to stay in my cut all the way down the piece. See that there? So that's where we're going. So you don't want to do this on the face of the anvil. This is a cold chisel, so it can cut. It's harder than the face of the anvil. So it can leave a big old ding, nasty ding in the anvil. And then Jamie will get real mad. Never seen him mad before. Whew. You don't want to. I've never seen him mad either, but you know, that means it's probably real bad. So anyways, so you want to do this on the step of the anvil, if you can. Anyway, when you're doing this, this groove is a nice subtle. This is a nice subtle candy cane, if you will. So people who have a little more modern homes, kind of contemporary housing, things like that you might say, they like these a lot over maybe more your traditional blacksmith candy canes. And this is one of those where you want to kind of take your time with this. You know, don't be in a rush. You just want to get a groove in there. Straighten this up for my own sake. Takes you back to the reason why you started forging in the first place, because it's fun. So all I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning up that groove a little bit. Now that I got that groove in there, I can go a little faster because I got that groove in there. So I'm just following that along. And that's taken out all those areas of concern. So most of this project here is just in the setup work. It's just the kind of the prep work of the deal. It goes pretty quick after you get done monkeying around with this portion. You can see it gets wobbly, so this will be like your hardest portion of this whole process. It's not wanting to grip there. Straighten that up.
You cutting how many sides of frame?
What's that?
You cutting just one on the edge or?
Just one. Yep. Try to get my thunder thighs and work in here. Now we're going to heat that whole section up there. And we'll go over to the vise, we'll lock it in, and we'll twist it. I'm going to keep the tongs on it here. I'm going to keep the tongs on it. It doesn't have to, but I'm going to use these tongs to twist it. So I'll end up using these tongs to twist it.
Any tips on twisting round bar?
If it's truly round bar, that maybe you use this. Another way you could do this groove, and it discusses, you have a cut-off wheel. It's a larger piece. If you have a cut-off wheel on an angle grinder, you could grind in that slot if you don't want to chisel it in. If you're twisting round bar, pipe wrench can work nicely because it can grip it. Other than that, you kind of have to have something that's got a little bit of grip to it or some sort of teeth to it. That also means that wherever you grip it at might get marred up. So think about that. If it gets marred up, you just chop that off. You kind of pre-plan for that. You go ahead and said, okay, I'm going to shorten that area where it got marred up. I'm just chop that off after I'm done. So that's a pretty common practice. You leave it a little longer than what you need, twist up what you want, shorten the end that got mangled, and then continue on with your project. So that's. And come right here in the vise. I want to try to grip as little of this piece as I can in the vise, because I want to get as much twisting as I can. That's plenty. You don't have to twist it more than that. Thank you, sir. Oh, there we can see that. Whoops. Okay. First things first, we're going to straighten this up a little bit. Usually I would do this with a wooden mallet, but I don't have my hot work mallet that I would normally use. You can also do this with a rawhide mallet as well, to shape this a little bit over the horn. But let's do what we got here. Usually want to get this to where it's coming back down on itself a little bit, where it's kind of hooking in. That way when the candy cane hangs, you know, it's kind of hangs like that. It gives a different look. Pass it around. It gives a different look for a candy cane. So for those of you that are done with your icicles, you move on to candy cane if you want. It's kind of amazing how one simple thing, like one simple line of the chisel line down it, and then a twist, and a bend. 3 steps. Chisel line, twist, and bend. We're going to work a piece of 3/16 by 3/4 inch flat bar. You can make it smaller if you want a smaller pendant, larger pendant, but the process is the same. The main difference, a lot of leaves, you know, you're trying to like draw a really sharp point to. This one you want to be more broad. You want to be a much broader point. So I'll bring this down to a very short taper in the end. We don't want it to go long. That's the biggest trick to this. You don't want to draw this out long. Long is bad in this case. So I'm putting just a really blunt taper. Turning it and correcting any sort of bows on there. So just like that. So we're looking for a really blunt thing. Make sense? So it could take the heat a little bit better. Line that up. So I'm going to find about a 1/4 inch radius on the edge of the anvil. And I'm just kind of aiming to get a double bite like that. See, it's got a double bite. Neck down. I'll come in. You can segment it out like that. You're telling where you want the mass to be. Okay, so this doesn't have to be super elaborate, but you want it to have segmentation. You want to have segments to it, like lobes, before you spread out the leaf. You come in here and put in your different results. Here, I usually use one of these. A little cool, so I won't do too much. It's a lot easier to use the guillotine tool. And then I can come back to each one of those segments I had originally. See, and even it up. So it's a lot quicker to use that. You can do it at the anvil. It has a slightly different effect. Ultimately, you want to look about 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then the last one of these is actually going to get drawn out into the portion that will become the pendant. All right. So we come in here, come from the front to the back, aiming at ourselves. Then a line that way, a line that way, a line that way. And this is what gives the leaf its look. You know, adding those lines. Pretty simple thing. Just adds that in. And then where I might come back through and clean up that center line, center vein a little bit. So I've been trying, ever since I took the class with Peter Ross, I've been trying my best to get used to eyeballing things more. Instead of relying on a tape measure and dots, center punch marks, things like that. When I took a class with Peter Ross there, he was, you know, it was inspirational because, you know, he never used the same piece of material twice. So once we get this piece nice and hot again, you go at the edge of the anvil, feel comfortable and not messing up your work. If you're not so comfortable, go to the horn of the anvil. Fine with small stock like this, and then we'll have to come back here to work on rounding this out. You'll find with small stock, it has a tendency to want to twist around on you while you're hammering. That's fine, just find the corners and knock those off. Doesn't matter if it twists it a little bit. We're just making a little stem, making a little vine. I'll come in here into the anvil's step. I'm going to hammer it like that a little bit, not a bunch, just enough to get it a little bit of curvature, see? Okay? And then I'm going to go over the horn of the anvil. Well, I'm going to try to go up this way first and kind of give it a little bit more curvature. because I'm about to sell it on the next part. See? But then I'm going to give it some curvature in that direction. Okay, and now I'm just going to, again, do my favorite portion of this. I can roll this around very adamantly, this piece here, and just really play with it. You get a lot of organic you make it very organic in a short period of time with scrolling tongs. So here again, I just decided I wanted more arch to it, more loop to it. And I won't make you all watch the rest of that, but you guys can see how that kind of goes. So it's a long way, isn't it, from where we started with it. Hopefully that makes sense. I can pass that around. You guys can pass that around.
Would anybody want a cup of coffee?